You are watching the New American Media.
You are listening to the Agree to Disagree program on thenewamericanmedia.com.
Welcome back, everybody. If you're listening live, that took a matter of seconds, and if you're watching after the fact, you have no idea what we're talking about. Perhaps, if you're watching after the fact on Facebook, please like our page, The New American Media. If you have not been to thenewamericanmedia.com, please do so. If you have not yet subscribed to youtube.com/thenewamericanmedia, please consider that. We also want to remind you that as these videos live on the internet, you can leave your comments. Just keep them mostly civil, and we want to continue the conversation offline. And to stay connected, Twitter is a resource that we use indefinitely. It is something that is extremely vital to staying connected on all these important, ever-changing issues. You can find us at American_media_. We are back with Dan Johnson, founder of PANDA, People Against the National Defense Act. Dan, we talked a little bit about FISA and how we have some serious Fourth Amendment concerns about that. Let's get into the NDAA, because it is your signature issue, although most things liberty-related tend to be your issues. Let's focus on the NDAA. Can you explain, just give us the history of where it came from, how it got started, what the concerns are, and then talk about what happened this week in the courts?
Yeah, the NDAA stands for the National Defense Authorization Act. It has been passed for 48 years by our Congress, about to be 49, and it usually just funds the military. It is an appropriations act. However, since 9/11, it has seemed that the politicians in Washington have seen the NDAA as sort of the metaphorical haystack to throw a needle into. For example, 2007, John Warner National Defense Authorization Act authorized a military unit to operate on U.S. soil, only on U.S. soil, and for civil disobedience and crowd control purposes. This was later repealed in 2009. However, in 2012, we gave this bill the nickname of the National Detaining Activists Act.
Oh.
And that is because it allows the United States government and the president and the armed forces to arrest you, to hold you without a trial, to not tell you why you're being held, and worst of all, it allows the law of war to take precedence over the Constitution on American soil. The law of war has no constitutional rights and no constitutional privileges in it. You are an enemy combatant, you will be treated as such. That's what the NDAA does to America. Now, after it was passed and it was signed on New Year's Eve, the group called the Freedom Seven of journalists, activists, etc., filed a lawsuit against Barack Obama, with Chris Hedges leading that lawsuit. The lawsuit stated that the NDAA violates their First Amendment rights. And in May, the Judge Catherine Forrest of the District Court in New York issued her temporary injunction saying that the NDAA should not be used. It has a chilling effect on the First Amendment. And the government immediately came back and said, okay, so you said your ruling, and we are going to construe it as applying only to the plaintiffs because no one else needs to be protected. So the first thing that the president's lawyers did was they tried to make sure that this ruling only applied to the 7 people who were trying to fight to keep anyone from being detained. Then the judge came back and said, no, that is definitely not what I said. And the case being only a temporary injunction.
Wait. When they had to go back and clarify that, do you think that was a mistake or that was an obvious subjugation? And it was, okay, well, it reminded me, could it have been like the Bart Simpson thing where Lisa becomes the babysitter for a day and she says, Bart, go to bed. So 2 minutes later, she goes into the kitchen and Bart's in the kitchen. Says, I told you to go to bed. Bart says, no, Lisa, you told me to go to bread. Go to bread. See, I'm at the bread. And he's just messing with her. What was that clarification?
Your example puts it quite well, except a tad bit more serious. And Judge Catherine Forrest must have been very upset because I haven't read too many decisions, I'll admit. But I've never read a decision besides hers or a clarification that says, to put it bluntly, my ruling applies to the public and to everyone. It was meant that way.
Right.
Well, after this hullabaloo, the NDAA got its next hearing in the same court, the same judge, in August. I want to say it was on August 7th. 2 days ago, the judge released her decision, placing a permanent injunction on the NDAA and saying that, yes, it does violate their constitutional rights and it is unconstitutional on its face, and turned the temporary injunction into a permanent. Well, while the internet was busy rejoicing and the Middle East was busy catching on fire, the Obama administration, within 24 hours of the ruling, appealed the ruling, saying the United States would be in grave danger if they were not allowed to indefinitely detain Americans and other citizens without a trial.
Grave danger, as though the legal system that we've had for 230-something years, forget about that. That has never worked for 230 years. If we don't keep this thing that we rammed through under the cover of darkness on New Year's Eve, if we can't do this, we're in grave danger as a nation because, trust us, it's an emergency, guys. Trust us. Respect our authority, guys. You gotta trust us.
And also, it does irreparable harm to remove the NDAA.
Well, that would be maybe if you're trying to take over a nation and turn the subjects into slaves, but we couldn't possibly believe that our own government, be it Republicans or Democrats, might be into that sort of thing, right? That's just crazy talk.
I'll let that one go as satire.
And silence is golden. Yeah, no, but it raises a lot of questions because if you're against civil liberties, are you for the American people? I don't know how that can be differentiated or split up and say, well, we don't like civil liberties, but we like you guys. You need to trust us. And I think this country was founded on people not trusting government and the founding fathers keeping arm's length and extreme distance and shackles around an ever-expansive government or military-industrial complex that wants to continuously grow and feast on itself like the blob. It just seems like there's a lot of people right now in 2012 that either don't understand the dangers of an ever-growing intrusive federal government, or they agree that they want to be taken care of cradle to grave in a nanny state type scenario. Which do you think it is, Dan?
I would say that the general excuse is they do not believe this could happen to them. It's always happening to someone else.
Yeah, I like that one. That one's great. That has never backfired. Satire,
sure about
sarcasm.
that?
Yeah, not at all. Okay, so the judge issues the ruling, and then it's misinterpreted. Wink, wink. And then she comes back and says, "Look, can I be any more blunt about this? You goons, we have a Fourth Amendment. You cannot do what this is doing." And to add one more caveat to that, while the judge is doing this, you had perhaps half the country that voted for George Bush and just kind of didn't really mind the Patriot Act, or that they were concerned about it, but that was their guy. So he couldn't do anything wrong there. So now those people get fired up because Barack Obama's the president, and they don't like the NDAA. But now the Democrats who dislike the Patriot Act are saying, well, it's our guy. It's not like he'd do anything bad with that. Right? Am I kind of painting this picture correctly? Where, I don't know.
I would say you're painting the picture correctly as far as those in Washington, D.C.
Okay.
But as far as the American people, the vast majority, I would say the number would stand around 95% of American people who would be considered majors in the legal system or over 18 have any idea what NDAA is. Or none of them. About 95% of them have no idea. And I would say about 5%, if that. We're growing. It's one of the getting some attention. It's catching some mainstream media attention, as it recently did. Now, unsurprisingly, they didn't report on the appeal very much, but they most definitely reported that it was struck down. And it's starting to get out there, but most people do not know what the NDAA is. And you're right. For those who do, especially in Washington, D.C., it's a your guy, my guy kind of
Well,
thing.
but this was passed with bipartisan support, but with Republicans and Democrats saying, "Yeah, we'll vote for this. Yeah, we can do that." I saw the
The
video.
difference is in their excuses.
Yeah,
for voting for it.
They are great. By the way, did you see Ben Swann's interview a few days ago? I think on the 6th when he was in Cincinnati. By the way, I just got confirmation. It looks like Ben Swann will be available to join us in about 15, 20 minutes if you wanted to stick around, because he actually had the chance 5 minutes with Mr. Obama on a campaign tour, and the very first question out of his mouth was asking about the National Defense Authorization Act, which I found fantastic. Because I don't really want to hear about Ann Romney. We're not electing Ann Romney. I don't care about Michelle Obama and her biceps. I don't care. I don't care how great of a family man they are. I don't care. I don't care about the religion. I don't care about all of these details. I'm kind of concerned about big things like World War III, Patriot Act, NDAA, that type of stuff. So, but Ben asked him straightforward, right to his face. And Mr. Obama replied with something that I felt was a little incoherent, a little rambling, and it didn't really address the question. And I also saw a video where Alan West was confronted about the NDAA, and then he gave the reporter homework. Well, go. What are you talking about? What provision? What page is that on? So he went back, he got his work, he said, okay, I spoke with you recently. You asked me to be specific, Section 1021 and 1022. Well, are you a lawyer? And just the audacity of these people, deflecting and trying to change the subject and trying to belittle the messenger. I just find it kind of astonishing. What have you seen in the difference in replies, how they talk about the NDAA?
There's a whole host of replies on how they talk about NDAA, and I'll cover this in the guide, where there's three main steps that go into defending NDAA, defending their vote, defending why they like it. Although I have to touch on Mitt Romney's first, which was absolutely hilarious. His response to a question on NDAA from Anthony Antonello was, "I don't want to talk about serious things today. It's a holiday."
Well, he wasn't going on Telemundo to talk about his favorite Beyonce song or the best place to get soul food. And did you hear that interview? It was some morning show. He was doing a radio call-in with some... anyway, if you haven't seen it, you got to hear it. But
he talked about how he likes Snooki, and it's like, are you a celebrity or are you running for president?
What's the difference?
And I don't disrespect either over the other.
Never disrespect Snooki. Never disrespect Snooki. Let that be a
I
lesson.
have little respect for those who have little respect for the Constitution.
Fair. That is very fair. That is very fair.
That's the simplest way to put it.
But Mitt Romney, when he was asked directly during the Republican debates, I forget the girl's name, but she asked during one of the debates about the NDAA, and he absolutely supports it. Oh, really? Even that part where it's completely illegal? Oh.
One of the very few things he has given a straight answer on. And yes, an actual answer instead of dancing around the issue.
Oh, yeah, he's a dancer, and Paul Ryan has an official statement on his congressional website talking about, well, some people are concerned about the NDAA saying this, but it clearly doesn't say that, and therefore we clearly support this. I mean, he at least put it out there and acknowledged that people were kind of furious about it and asking, well, how can we vote for you if you support these unconstitutional things? He just said there is no Section 1021 or 1022, and if there are, which there are, they don't say what you think they said. And by the way, stop reading it and stop talking to me about it. Well, different words.
I believe it was Alan West, and I'll go into those three steps in a second. I believe it was Alan West who said, look on page 657 of the NDAA, and you'll see it doesn't apply to citizens or lawful resident aliens of the United States. And I have one short but sweet answer from Mr. Allen West. There is no page 657. It isn't that long.
Oh, that's beautiful. That is beautiful.
It may be the fact that he puts it in big type to be easier to read. Maybe it gets longer pages. But to my knowledge, there is no page 657. Anyway, going directly into the three things that you as a person will run into if you confront an elected official and they voted for NDAA or they supported the NDAA.
Oh, this is good. Wait, hold on. You're winding up on this one. This is going to be a nice one, isn't it? I can already tell.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Then I'll tell you what. Let me do this. Let me take a quick break because I want to hear this is. Let me see if I got this right. These are the three things that you can expect to hear somebody reply to you regarding the NDAA. Is that where we're going with this? The three things we should
exactly
expect.
It.
And do you have an equal number of things that we could say in response? Or
I wouldn't give you the objections without coming up with easy responses for them.
Okay, let me do this then. Let's make sure we have time to do this. It's going to get pretty hectic here. We're going to bring in Ben Swan. This whole live radio thing is fantastic. You're communicating in real time. We're trying to confirm exactly what time we're going to bring Ben Swan in to the program. We're talking with Dan Johnson of PANDA, and we also have Pam Larry, who is the initial instigator, as she likes to be called, regarding the CARightToKnow.org. That is the Issue 37, labeling genetically engineered food provision that California is going to be voting on. And everybody's contacting us at the same time. So let me take a quick break. We're going to run a quick commercial here for our Unhappy Hour sports show. In about 60 seconds, we'll be back talking a little bit more with Dan Johnson of PANDA. Dan, give out your contact info one more time.
Twitter at Panda Unite, and our website is pandaunite.org.
Fantastic. Go check out what he's up to. Go check out what the organization is about, and just make sure you're getting the proper daily updates, because a lot of people were commenting on Twitter and saying, hey, we won on the NDAA. Good work, guys. But there's a lot more going. It's like, well, kind of. You got a little bit of correct information, but you cannot go back to sleep, because the same people that need to pass these things, because it's such a big emergency, they're not going to simply agree to be stopped because it's unconstitutional. They're going to keep trying. If they wanted this in the first place, they're going to keep going. So you need to keep going. Do that by following Dan Johnson of PANDA and us over here at thenewamericanmedia.com. My name's Brian Engelman. We'll be right back after this quick commercial break here on the TNAM Radio Network.
Hi, it's Brian from thenewamericanmedia.com. I'm a sports fan. I was raised in Cleveland, spent 25 years in Ohio. I watched the drive, the fumble, the shot too. I watched Art Modell steal the Cleveland Browns and win a Super Bowl over in Baltimore. I watched a horrible coach named Bill Belichick go on to the Patriots and win Super Bowls over there. Hooray. I am a bitter sports fan. Let's not even talk about what happened with he who shall not be named, who went to South Beach to take his talents there. Excuse me, I almost threw up in my mouth a little bit there. I am a sports fan who cares to talk about the things that matter to me. That is the Indians, the Cavs, the Browns, and the Buckeyes. But of course, I pay attention to national sports, and we discuss that on our show as well. That's why we have the Unhappy Hour every single Friday at 3:30 p.m. Pacific. Sit down, have a drink. It's the end of a long work week, and we can all get together and talk about the unhappy times that we've had as sports fans. We've all had them. We've had ups and downs, but as Cleveland fans, we only have downs. Join us.
If you're tired of the other stuff, take a look at thenewamericanmedia.com.